I had the privilege to be part of an educator's tour of Israel, sponsored and funded by the JNF, from July 21st to the 28th, 2019. This video is a brief and very incomplete reflection of what we saw and did on that remarkable and eye-opening tour. Until then, I had no idea of the vast and varied tzedakah work of the JNF, from terraforming the landscape to transforming cities, and from improving education to providing social safety nets, and so much more. JNF is at work in Israel. Our first day, Monday the 22nd, began at our Lazarov bus terminal in Tel Aviv. From there we went downtown to the beginning of the Independence Trail, and there I discovered this advice, unobtrusively clinging to the side of a building. Look deeper. That became my mantra for the trip. Well, actually, that's my mantra for almost everything. While our guide was talking, I was taking snapshots of the omnipresent Israeli art, some of it intentional, like these panels by Nahum Gutman and this horse and rider, but some of it was etched on the scarred faces of buildings being torn down or renovated. There's beauty everywhere, but for the eyes to see. We then drove to the Rosh Tsipor birdwatching center in Yarkon Park in the midst of Tel Aviv. Here you see a kingfisher quietly lying in a woman's hand. Kingfishers are immobile on their back. This guy happily flew away as soon as she was placed on her feet. On the Independence Trail, I took this snapshot, and a few hours later, there we were on the trails of Ein HaShofet, a.k.a. Nahal HaShofet, the spring of the judge. A gorgeous walk, and then the first of dozens of delicious meals, usually classic kibbutzim cuisine, my favorite. After planting some trees at the Lavi Forest, we headed up to the Kinneret and our hotel just north of Tveria. The first kibbutz transformed into a hotel, Nof Ginosar, our base of operations for the next 2 days. On our second day, Tuesday, we traveled all around the north of Israel, going first to JNF-supported Kibbutz Harduf, now devoted to rehabilitation based on Rudolf Steiner's anthroposophic principles. From there, we drove to the JNF office in Akko, and then explored the winding streets in the old city. The architecture is a collage reflecting Akko's many conquerors. Here is a hall in the Crusader fortress built by the Hospitallers. Outside, Ottoman domes and minarets, densely packed housing, passageways into the city and out to the sea, balconies where I imagine poets of old sat and composed, and exotic shops like Hamudi Kurdi's, with its coffee, herbs, elixirs, skins, shells, gourds, and who knows what. Back on the bus, we drove out to the Hula Valley, recently restored by the JNF to a bird sanctuary. The Hula is on one of the world's most important bird migration routes. We were met by naturalists who gave us a close-up tractor-driven tour. Don't go petting that nice little pussycat. He's a local form of bobcat, totally wild. The wetlands here are always teeming with wildlife. As the sun began to set, we headed up to Mount Adir, and we could look down on Israel to the south and Lebanon to the north. These are Hezbollah's hills. It was late when we got back to Nof Ginosar. Day 3 began with educational seminars, including an experiential workshop on taking photographs. Here's one I took, which I then shopped up a bit when I got back to the States. We then headed back to the Hula and took a jeep tour through its cultivated sections. This thriving farmland produces beans, corn, pomegranates, and watermelons among its many crops. In the late afternoon, we headed up to Mount Bental in the Golan. This view is looking back as we rose through the mountains. We were greeted by some dinosaur-like sculptures as we climbed to the lookout station on Bental's peak. Looking down, Syria's dry plains. But the trenches beside us are a clear reminder of the unresolved conflict and this, a hot edge of it. And this bunker is one of the ways we say, Am Yisroel Chai. As the sun was setting, we entered Katzrin Park, a restored Talmudic era town. Our moods lightened, and we imagined former times. We put on costumes, laughed at ourselves, sang along with a musician, and then enjoyed another delicious dinner, this time under the stars. The sun barely risen on day 4, we checked out of Nof Ginosar and headed south. First to the sprawling city of Nazareth, where we visited a supplemental education program spearheaded by the JNF. Then to the outskirts of Jerusalem and Yad Vashem, where the education team there brought us up to speed with current perspectives on teaching the Shoah, with a particular emphasis on individual experience and the many forms of resistance to Nazi oppression. After checking into our hotel in Jerusalem, we went out to Mini Israel for a gala dinner and many l'chaims, followed by a remarkable psychic performance and then some Israeli rock and roll. I didn't take any pictures during day 5 when we went to Ammunition Hill and heard a powerful teaching, then went to Alexander Muss High School to witness some powerful teaching, fell behind schedule and missed the Twin Towers Memorial, and while most people went off to Machane Yehuda before it closed for Shabbat, I went back to my room and wrote poetry. For Shabbat, I decided to walk to the Israel Museum and pray with my feet and my eyes. Like any good exploration, I got lost going downhill to this medieval monastery instead of up to the museum on the top of the hill. No big deal. In the museum, I was reminded of the marvelous parable of the great king who chose a bride, as I saw first some beautiful ketubot and then some beautiful Torah scroll covers. Of course, the great king is God, and the beautiful bride is Israel, and Torah is our ketubah. After Havdalah, we went to the wall to experience a sound and light show. Wow! Our words and our experiences are inscribed on these stones like another kind of Torah. But Jewish culture is much more than text. Ours is a history of art and music, literature and mythology. As this light show displayed, I was mesmerized and exhilarated. Today was our last day. We packed our bags once again, loaded the bus, and headed first to Beersheba Park, where JNF has invested wisely and well to spread out Israel's dense central population and to promote technology. From there we drove further south to the Gaza border. This plaque identifies important parts of Gaza, which, lifting our eyes, we could see just a mile or two in front of us. We then drove to Sderot, on the front lines of over a decade of regular Gaza rocket fire. This is a whole city suffering PTSD, and the JNF has built a safe playground for children and adults alike to find some hours of relief and fun. Alas, all good things come to an end. We attended closing ceremonies at Bet Hatfutsot, Israel's National Museum of Jewish Culture. This stunning installation is a reproduction of the ceiling in the Ukraine's Chodorov Shul. Farewell, Israel. Farewell, Jerusalem. May those who build you be blessed. With blessings to the whole JNF team. Thank you. Thank you.